What made you call CPS? I work at this grocery store downtown, and there's this woman, Bridget, who's been there for 2 years longer than me. She's 29 with 3 kids, and honestly, her life seems like complete chaos. She's always 20 minutes late minimum, always on her phone arguing with someone about money or babysitters, always asking people to cover her shifts last minute. But whatever. Everyone's got problems, and retail doesn't pay enough for any of us to judge. At first, I felt bad for her because being a single mom looked impossible. She'd come in with her hair still wet from rushing, wearing mismatched shoes, forgetting her name tag half the time. The managers never said anything because we were always short-staffed, and at least she showed up eventually. Her kids would sometimes come in after school, and she'd give them candy from the checkout lanes without paying and tell them to wait in the break room. Nobody wanted to be the person who got a struggling mom fired. Then about 2 months ago, I started noticing her oldest kid, Jason, hanging around outside more and more. He's like 9 or 10 and would sit on this bench by the entrance for hours playing on some old tablet. First, it was just after school for an hour until her shift ended. Then it became him being there at 7, 8, 9 at night. She'd tell him to wait outside because employees couldn't have kids in the break room anymore after the new district manager made that rule. When customers would ask if he was okay, he'd say his mom worked here and she'd be done soon, but soon meant 3 or 4 more hours. I mentioned to Bridget once that Jason had been outside for 2 hours and it was getting dark. She rolled her eyes and said he was fine. He had his tablet and knew not to go anywhere with strangers. She said I didn't understand because I didn't have kids, and sometimes you had to make tough choices. She said at least he wasn't home alone like some kids whose parents worked nights. I kept my mouth shut after that, but it bothered me. The kid would be out there in the rain sometimes, just sitting under the little overhang getting splashed. He'd come in to use the bathroom and his lips would be blue from the cold. Other employees started noticing too. Tanya from deli would sneak him hot soup. Robert from produce would give him apples. But nobody wanted to actually say anything to management because Bridget would definitely get fired. And then what would happen to those kids? It kept getting worse though. She started picking up extra shifts, and Jason would be outside from 4 in the afternoon until 11 at night when we closed. She'd take her breaks and smoke cigarettes out back instead of checking on him. When he'd come looking for her, she'd get annoyed and tell him to go back outside and stop bothering her at work. One night I was leaving after closing and it was past 11:30 and Jason was literally asleep on the bench, like completely passed out with his tablet dead in his lap and his backpack as a pillow. It was 40 degrees and he was wearing just a thin jacket. His shoes were untied and one had fallen off. He looked so small curled up on that metal bench. I went back inside to find Bridget and she was in the back room laughing with another coworker about some show they both watched. I told her Jason was asleep outside and it was almost midnight and freezing. She sighed like I was being annoying and said she'd get him in a minute. She was almost done counting her drawer. I stood there for a second, realizing she genuinely didn't care that her kid was unconscious outside a grocery store near midnight. That's when I went to my car and called the non-emergency line. I just told them an unattended child was sleeping outside our store and I was concerned for his safety. I gave them the address and hung up. I didn't give my name or mention Bridget at all. The cops came about 20 minutes later and woke Jason up. Bridget had to leave her drawer half counted to deal with them. She made up some story about just running inside for a second and losing track of time. They let her take him home, but I guess they made a report. Child services showed up at her apartment the next week according to what she told everyone. They interviewed all 3 kids and the neighbors and checked her house. They found out the younger 2, who were 6 and 4, were being left with Jason to babysit them while she worked doubles. They found out she'd been leaving them alone overnight when she picked up graveyard shifts. They found out there wasn't enough food in the house and the electricity had been shut off twice in the last few months. Yesterday, Bridget came in laughing. Full story on channel. Link below.